This review is delayed since I was working on adding English subtitles to Godzilla and making my review of it, but rest assured I am just as unhealthily obsessed with Pokémon as I am with Godzilla. Collecting cute and/or cool-looking pets with superpowers in a sci-fantasy adventure setting, so vaguely defined that I can fill in the gaps in logic with my own imagination, made me fall in love with the games. I used to love the TV show and movies, and I've been watching them recently for a nostalgia trip. I've read a little bit of the Pokémon Adventures manga, and I shamefully collect some of the toys and merchandise even now. I've been picturing what a live-action Pokémon movie would be like in my head for my entire life, but when it was announced that a live-action Pokémon movie was really coming, I was more apprehensive than excited. I was afraid that I'd be too dead set on my vision of the story to be open-minded to whatever we got, and when it was announced that the movie would be based on the Detective Pikachu game and not focus on a hero earning gym badges and competing in the Pokémon League, I was kind of put off. Eventually I came around to the idea of it being based on Detective Pikachu though, and I was right to do so, since as I suspected once I came to my senses, a mystery set in the Pokémon world just makes for a more interesting movie than if it was based on the fictional sport the games focus on. The only thing left to worry about was how the Pokémon would look in live action, and if the movie would still contain enough pieces of my dream Pokémon movie to win me over. The story follows Tim Goodman, a young man in his 20s who, as a kid, always wanted to be a Pokémon trainer but had to grow up and get a job in the insurance industry. Which is me, that's who I am. Yeah, this might be the most relatable protagonist possible for me specifically. Justice Smith plays Tim very well. Right from the start we feel sympathy for him and want to see him succeed, but we also see the character flaws he has to work through before he can. He's an emotional Fort Knox, unwilling to admit to anyone else he's sad, angry, bored, and pretty much hopeless. While his attitude is self-defeating, he isn't outwardly impolite to anyone unless they're trying to help him, and generally he wants to do the right thing. Justice Smith is also pretty funny in the role, out of his element in the very Pokemon-centered setting since his character has basically sworn off Pokemon. Ryan Reynolds plays a Pikachu that used to be the Pokemon companion of Tim's now missing father Harry. Harry's Pikachu, as he's referred to, can speak in a way that only Harry can understand, though he has no memories of who he is or why he can do that. Sometimes he just feels like Ryan Reynolds is playing Deadpool again, but other times he gets to do some basic kids movie levels of emotional acting that's fine, and sometimes you remember that Reynolds is actually pretty good at playing Deadpool, and that can make his lines as Pikachu very funny. I like that Reynolds went the extra mile and performed Pikachu's face in motion capture. The VFX artists had to do their best work on Pikachu since we see him the most, and they did an excellent job. Not just animating with Reynolds' face as reference either, but in the design and execution of Pikachu. He looks like a real creature you could pick up. Making his stomach a paler shade of yellow helps his small arms stand out against his body since he doesn't have cartoon outlines for that anymore. His weird feet actually look reasonable. His tail doesn't look as impossible as it is, and he looks fluffy but also heavy, like he could really fight another small animal of a similar size. My one gripe is that the cheeks are furry as well, and the fur is just red. I always pictured Pikachu's cheeks as bare patches of skin that might be a tougher texture than the rest of his skin, and the digital artists behind the movie did make some models of that, but I guess they couldn't get it to look quite right. I'll get to some other Pokemon designs I have thoughts on in a minute. Catherine Newton plays Lucy Stevens, a reporter obsessed with finding and exposing a big cover-up scandal. Newton seems to be the only one who got the memo that this is a Pokemon movie, since she acts like a character straight out of the show. She's over the top, obsessive, and driven to the point of reckless self-endangerment, and very funny. Stevens is both the wild card of the main cast, the one who answers all the questions that Tim and the audience have, and one of the smart ones, a role she shares with Pikachu. Her main Pokemon is a Psyduck, who has a character trait invented for this movie, where the constant headaches that trigger its destructive psychic powers can only be assuaged by active efforts to keep Psyduck calm, including playing soft music. Psyduck is a favorite of mine, and while I think its cry from the show is funnier than the more realistic sound it makes here, the movie did justice to it and made a pretty good change. Somehow the filmmakers also got Bill Nighy to be in the movie. Nighy is great in everything, and he makes some very childish material go a long way here, a testament to his skill. He seems to be taking this role as seriously as any other. I'd also like to give a shout out to Ryoma Takeuchi, who cameos as Red in the film. The Pokemon movie I always dreamed of would have followed Red, so it was great to see him in live action, and played by the Kamen Rider. In fact, if you watch the Japanese version of this movie, Ryoma Takeuchi dubs Tim Goodman, so in a really roundabout way, Red kind of, sort of, not really, but definitely 100% is the main character of the first live-action Pokemon movie. Let's talk about the Pokemon themselves. For one thing, they got the Pokemon world right. Not only is this canon with the game continuity, but anything and absolutely everything in this world revolves around Pokemon. They take jobs that their individual powers make them good at, it's considered weird to not have a Pokemon, and since it's set in a city without Pokeballs, they're everywhere in every scene. It feels like they came up with about 50 models and reused them a bunch, but that's more than enough for such a short movie. I especially like that the movie opens with a direct acknowledgement that Cubone is wearing its mother's skull, since that's a part of the lore that fans tend to think of as an embarrassing moment the series owners would like us to forget about for being so morbid. Nope. It's the first thing we see in the movie. I also like that it includes Mr. Mime, a Pokemon generally hated by fans, in one of the funniest scenes in the movie. It's like it shows equal respect for all of the Pokemon even if the fans don't, which is how it should be. When they focus too much on popular ones, all we get is more Lucario. The Pokemon design philosophy seems to be just make 3D models of the game and show designs, and add some details for realism like visible fur or scales. This results in most Pokemon looking great, Magikarp in my opinion being the best, and a few looking a little off. Some of them are just cartoony enough that they don't look like they're really there. Charizard stuck out to me, and the design itself of Charizard is just not quite right in my eyes. Maybe it's just weird seeing the actual scales on him, but he was my least favorite looking one in the movie. Still, Charizard vs. Pikachu is a terrific thing to see in live action, since they're the two most popular Gen 1 Pokemon. We also get to see Gengar in battle, which I appreciated since he's one of the Pokemon we see in the first battle anyone ever saw. We get plenty of other classic Pokemon moments as well, including a Magikarp becoming a Gyarados, a recreation of Mewtwo's escape in the very first Pokemon movie, Pokemon of unusual sizes, the Pokefloats stage from Super Smash Bros., a Ditto that lets the finale of the movie include tons of other Pokemon thanks to its shape-shifting ability, a Jigglypuff drawing on a guy's face, and my personal favorite moment, Pikachu vs. Mewtwo, when the camera was positioned in such a way that Pikachu's back was in the bottom left of the screen, while Mewtwo was in the top right in the distance, exactly like the battle camera in the games. The only thing I could ask for more than that is for Team Rocket to play a role, or for the series to actually explain its own lore instead of dropping big hints and letting fan theories fill in the blanks, but alas, that's not this movie's job. In conclusion, Pokemon Detective Pikachu is a short, easy watch with some likable characters that properly portrays one of my favorite fictional universes in live action. There's no reason to see this if you aren't either currently a Pokemon fan or a former fan who liked it when you were a kid, but if you are either of those, it's not quite a dream come true, but it's a good time. Thanks for listening.